"Order up." "Got it," Penny said, taking the chicken fried steak dinner off the counter. "I know it," I said. "Are there any new orders?" "Not right now," she said. "Cool. I'll be washing dishes then. Buzz me if you need me." "Sure thing," she said, moving away towards the dining room as I moved toward the kitchen. And that's how it was in the summer of '92. To be honest, it was a pretty cool gig. Cooking, washing, generally hanging out at the Dandelion Inn. You couldn't ever really say the place was really busy, and cooking a few steaks or chicken every hour was A-okay by me. I had no complaints, and it was great saving for the bills that I was sure I'd be having once I left in the fall and enrolled in college. "Hey, loser, pass the dish soap." "Oh, and Nick." "Here, don't use it all in one place," I said, passing him the soap. Nick and I had been best friends since, well, before I could remember anyway. Getting the job here with him had been a huge plus to the whole thing, and even on the really awful days, we had fun together. Life was good, but on that particular day, it was about to get even better. Now, when I washed the dishes, I never did it to just the whine of the faucet. I always had a radio on in the background, jamming out to some tunes. I flipped the radio on, like I always did, and we rocked out to Nirvana and the Chili Peppers as we washed the dishes. That night, however, a commercial came on the radio that caught our attention. "Atlanta sold out in 10 minutes. Kansas City in 5. How long will it take you, Omaha?" Edison, the Grand Ball Tour, September 19th, Omaha Civic Auditorium. Tickets go on sale tomorrow morning at all ticket stop locations. "Holy shit," Nick said. I nodded. "Edison is coming to Omaha?" "Yeah," I said, "and they sold out in 10 minutes in other places." "You thinking what I'm thinking?" Nick said. I nodded again. I was doing a lot of nodding that night. "Let's get the hell out of here," I said. "If we're quick, we can make it there before midnight and camp out for tickets." Anxious to get out of the kitchen, we started a major cleanup early. The restaurant closed at 10 p.m. It was currently 9:15 p.m., but we hadn't had a single order for a good hour. I left the grill and the fryers on, but I put everything else away and started to clean up. I convinced Nick to do all the mopping, while I chatted with the hostess up front. Right as I took my apron off at 9:55, the only waitress left that night rang the bell. It was an order of 3-piece chicken. Wonderful. It takes a full 15 minutes to deep fat fry chicken, and I had already ditched the egg wash and flour mixture. I looked over at the trash, where Nick had recently disposed the extra chicken we had from earlier that night. I counted the pieces in my head. Then, I rationed it out, trying to convince myself that what I was about to do was okay. It was sitting on top of a few sheets of clean paper towels. Could I dig it out and refry it for a few minutes? Nick and myself clocked out at 10:05 p.m. and headed toward Lincoln to start our up-all-night adventure. What? Don't judge me. I was only 17 years old. Besides that, the week following, we started a new special due to customer comments. Twice fried chicken, I called it. It was a huge success and continued on for years after I left the diner for college. The only modification was that we stored the first run frying chicken in a big, clean, white bucket covered and refrigerated. I turned my ball cap backwards and lit a cigarette before getting in my 1980 AMC Spirit. Nick rode shotgun, and we were on our way. We stopped at another buddy's apartment, where we picked up another couple of folks that wanted to get in on these tickets. All the buzz at his pad was Vince Neil's departure from Motley Crue that day. I knew Nick was a huge Crue head, so I gave him crap all night, saying, "Motley who?" "You'd better hope Edison never breaks up, Freddie," Nick said with a smirk. "Don't even joke about that, Nick," I replied. We all arrived at Ticket Stop about midnight. There wasn't any sort of line, so we headed over to the 24-hour diner a few blocks away to kill some time until they opened at 10 a.m. Everyone ordered chicken, except me and Nick, who looked at each other with a knowing glance. We simply ordered a soda. Come 10:05 a.m., and we all had tickets in hand. The show did sell out, as we all knew it would. It took a little longer than we thought, however. It was more like 2 weeks instead of 2 minutes. Back then, all shows were general admission, so we didn't benefit much from pulling the all-nighter. Except, that it gave us a night we will never forget. Even 19 years later, it's still fresh in my mind. We worked the day of the big show. Somehow, we managed to power through it, even though we both wanted to get out of there and head to Omaha. By the time night came, the world had taken on that fuzzy haze, the one you can only get by not sleeping for a while, and we managed to sit through the opening band and not fall asleep. But then, with all the lights still on, Hank came out and started playing his Gibson SG. It was like nothing I had ever seen before. Typically, the lights go out creating complete darkness before the band comes out. Not Edison. They just came out and they started the show. Everything melted away. The tiredness, the haze, everything. The adrenaline kicked in, and we shot to our feet as the crowd roared. We went from being in a stupor to being electrified with excitement. It wasn't a haze. It was something different. It's that heightened sense of reality that you can only get at a concert, when time slows down and everything becomes crystal clear. You can hear every note that comes out of the guitar, and the crash of the drums beats in time with your heart. You become part of the crowd, alone, yet united. You don't notice anything but the way you move, react, and feel the music. It's hard to describe. I guess you had to be there, Well, and that's how the night went. If you want details, I'm sorry, I really can't give them to you. The whole night is a wild blur of sounds and sight, a Picasso of all my senses. I can only tell you how the silver gleam of their outfits melded with the scream of the guitars as my friends and I rocked out. I remember that night vividly. Well, I shouldn't say that. I feel the night vividly. Still do. And I remember going to sleep and feeling so pumped. The best night of my life to date. I remember how that felt. And that's how Edison feels to me. That night with Edison, well, that was a wild night. Like I said, I still remember it. Feel it. The good news is, I recovered from that night. Recovered well enough, in fact, that I got through college. I decided to go the programmer route, and I was fluent in all the drudgery of computer programming. C++, assembly language, integers, floats, pointers, blah blah, and yada yada. I was ready to join the real world. Oh, and I also survived Edison breaking up. Yes, I said breakup. It was a real big disappointment, I heard about it on the radio, and it happened close to the end of my junior year. They were getting bigger back then. I called my buddies, Nick and them, and they had heard it too. I guess one of the guys had gotten too into his drugs, and the rest of the group called it quits when he couldn't even stagger to the stage to perform. It kind of came as a shock to me, really. A shock to all of us. Edison to us wasn't a band made up of men. It was a group, a kind of mix of light and sound that thundered down to us from atop its metal and wood throne. Rock stars, literally. But we got over it. At least, we said we did. It lingered with me for a while. I tried to tell myself it didn't matter, that all rock groups break up. And I guess if you want to know the truth, I didn't think about it all that much, except when an Edison song came on the radio, or I jammed out to them on the highway. Nick and the guys never mentioned it, and neither did I. But there it was. It lingered for me. When I finally got out of college, I was a programmer, like I said. I didn't know anything about this new internet, though. I wanted to learn some HTML, which is the programming language for the internet. I got my hands on an HTML instruction book, and I thought about what kind of page to make. A Hello World page? No, too corny. A page to say hi to my family? A news page? A page of stuff I was interested in? None of it really grabbed me. I didn't want to make a website that had no interest to me, and for a while, I put off even learning HTML. And that's when I heard it, like a gunshot tearing through my consciousness. The opening chords of the grand ball, Edison's, seared across the airwaves, into my radio, and out of the speakers. And that's when I knew what site to make. It was a simple site. I still have it archived. It looked so 90s, yet ahead of its time. It had frames and moving pictures, and just a few links to sites about Edison, along with an old file that played fuzzy audio right at you from your computer speakers. Most importantly, however, it had big, bold letters right on the front. Operation Reunite Edison. I was so proud of it when I finished. And well, okay, yeah, I had a beer or two while I was making it. I put it up late on a Friday afternoon, and I decided to log off for the day and head out to the bar to keep the beers flowing. Anyway, things happened, and for one reason or another, I didn't ever get back to the computer that weekend to check it out. Fast forward to Monday morning. I was reading a bit more on HTML at home when I got a phone call. "Hey, bud, it's Mark," Mark said. "Something's up with your email." "Up with my email? What do you mean?" I said. "I don't know. Every email I send you just gets bounced back as undeliverable," Mark said. "I thought I should let you know in case you were expecting something important." "Ah, damn," I said. "All right, I'll go take a look. Thanks." I got off the phone and walked over to my computer. I booted up, dialed in with my brand spanking new 56K modem, and I hit my email button. I waited. Nothing happened. I swore under my breath. I waited some more. Nothing happened. I swore a bit more. I reached for the phone to call my internet company, and then something happened. Thousands of emails popped up on my screen, along with the ominous message, "Mailbox full." I grumbled. Probably somebody had hacked my account, or I got spammed or something. I resolved to go through my inbox and clear out all the spam emails, carefully saving whichever ones were actual emails and not spam. I noticed something, though. Almost immediately, actually. They all had titles like this. "Yeah, bro. Get Edison back." "Oh my God, you're so right. I love Edison." "I love Edison." Edison! You know, on and on. All in a weekend. All from my rinky-dink site. And none of it was spam. I checked the website. It was down. I cursed again, and I called my service provider. "Excuse me," I said when I got someone on the line. "My site's down. I'd like to know what happened." "Sure thing," the man said. "Domain name?" "EdisonWeb.com," I told him. "Holy cow, you're EdisonWeb.com," he said. "Sorry, dude. It'll be down for a while. You got tens of thousands of hits in hours yesterday. It overwhelmed our servers. We're actually upgrading them now to handle the load." "Oh, okay," I said. "Thanks." I hung up, and that's when I knew. That's when I knew my mission for real. It was time to bring Edison back. The rest of it, well, honestly, it sounds more like some sort of movie than anything else. I knew the website had a huge amount of oomph. Anyone could see that, based on how it overwhelmed my company's servers and all. People wanted them back. But how was I going to get to them? The internet wasn't really a big thing back then. Even a website with that many hits probably didn't even come close to a blip on Edison's radar. I needed a way to get in touch with them. So, I did the obvious. I hacked into the editor of the leading rock magazine's email and got Ryan White's email address. What? Don't judge me. I was still relatively young, and I was pumped. I got it through a little bit of con artistry. I started by calling the receptionist. I looked on their website. It was Joan, and their assistant editor's name was Jerry. "Hey, Joan," I said cheerily when she picked up the phone. I thought of a fake name pretty quick. "It's Bill. How are you?" "Hey, Bill," she said. "I'm fine, thanks. And you?" "Good," I said. "Hey, listen, can you give me Jerry's number? I have a question about the top 100 piece coming up, and I can't find my address book. I think I lost it." "Sure thing, Bill," she said. "Just a second. It's 555-5438. "Thanks," I said. I hung up and dialed the number she gave me. I started to sweat a little. It was now or never, all or nothing, and here's how it all went down. "Hello?" I heard a voice say. "Hello, is this Jerry?" I said, in as professional-sounding voice as I could. "This is he," Jerry said. "How can I help you?" "This is Stuart, down in the computer room," I said. My palms were really starting to sweat now. There have been some issues with wrong email addresses in our global mail servers, and I was told to get in touch with you to verify one of them. "Which one do you need?" I said, pretending to flip through some papers. Mr. Ryan White. I have here rwhite@aol.com. Is that correct?" "Nope, must be an old one," Jerry said. "He's rwhite123@aol.com now." All right," I said, as nonchalantly as I could. "I'll be sure to update the mail servers then. I'll give you a ring back in a bit if we have any further problems. Thank you." "No problem," Jerry said. "Later." I hung up, sweaty and nervous and still unbelieving. Holy shit, I did it. Now that I had Ryan's personal email address, I could finally get to someone in the band and show them my intentions with the website. With all the excitement concerning the new movement on the internet, I was anxious and a bit frightened at the same time. I sent him the email showing as much professionalism as I could, knowing it was going to a member of my favorite band of all time. It took all I had in me not to build in lyric references of Edison songs in my sentences. I thought it was clever, but he'd probably heard it all before. I simply said a quick hello and gave him the link to my website. The next morning, I connected with my modem and checked my email. Buried in the middle of the 50 new messages of mostly Edison fans sending me well wishes was a reply from Ryan White himself. It read like a form letter. "Freddie, thank you for the email. Enjoy the old Edison records and move on with your life. Check out my new band, Motorman. The address is below if you want to buy our new record for $10. Post that on your website. Ryan." Is he crazy? I just don't understand how a member of the best rock and roll band ever would not be into reforming and making magic again. What do I care about some other band he's in? How could it compare? I decided to give it a chance, or at least keep on his good side, and send him the $10. I sent cash just to speed things up. 2 weeks later, I was still waiting for the CD to come in the mail, so I decided to email him back to ask what the holdup was. He responded a couple of days later, saying he accidentally burned my check in the fireplace and to send another one. Wait a minute. Check? I didn't send a check. What is he trying to pull? I was a bit irate. I immediately sent him an email that opened the door for an anger moment for him as well. "Ryan, you must be hard up for cigarette money to try to get me to pay again for your stupid CD. I take it you didn't save all your Edison millions? Freddie." A few minutes after hitting send on that email, my phone rang. I have no idea how he got my number, but there was a founding member of Edison on the other side of the phone screaming at the top of his lungs at me for making such accusations in that email. I didn't have much of a chance to say anything, as he was foaming at the mouth cursing me out. I had a million questions for him. Why did they really break up? What does some lyric mean in one of their songs, and so on and so forth. He ended the conversation saying again that Edison would not be getting back together. He told me check out the new projects and to move on with my life. I called my buddy directly after Ryan hung up on me. "Dude, you won't believe who just called me," I said. "Who? Must have been someone important. You just screeched like a little girl." "Ryan White, dude," I said, and I didn't screech. "Whoa," Nick said into the phone. "What did he call you for? Did he like the site? Holy shit." I told Nick that he loved the site and that he gave me some ideas on things I could expand on to make the site bigger. As I was lying to my buddy about how the conversation really went down, it dawned on me. Embrace the new bands to get close to the band. Brilliant. The next morning, I put a new widget on the top of Operation Reunite Edison. I wrote a script that did a calculation on how long the band had been broken up based on the current time and date. The header read, "Edison has been broken up for 4 years, 6 months, 4 days, and 24 minutes. Move on with your life." Under that, I posted some information about Ryan's new band and how to get their new CD. The next morning, my sister called me saying she tried to email me, but her message wouldn't go through. She said she was getting some sort of mailbox full message. I quickly logged on to the internet to see what was up. At this point, I was getting hundreds of new visitors each day, and the newbies definitely did not get my sense of humor. This was my first experience of hate mail. People telling me they grew up listening to Edison, and that they will not move on with their lives. Funny, I was trying to make light of the situation, and people took it the wrong way. Oh well, they will catch on soon. I started to reply to everybody, as I normally did, but after a while, I just clicked on the delete button over and over again. A few days later, the Motorman CD arrives in the mail. It was much harder sounding than the Edison records, but I did like it. So much, in fact, that I dedicated a whole page on the website for them. After some time, Ryan gave me a call and asked me to make an official website for his band. I agreed, and I created my first paid website. I also got on Ryan's mailing list. The first mass email he sent out promoting a show he was doing had a recipient that I was not expecting. Hank, the guitarist from Edison. I couldn't believe that Ryan had made the mistake of leaving that open for me to see. Now I had an in on another member. I thought about it for a while and started composing an email to my guitar hero. Same old thing, you know. I love all your work. Do you think Edison will ever get back together? That sort of thing. A few days later, I got a response from Hank. "Right on, Freddie. I still love the music we made. It's not a matter of if we will get back together soon. It's when. Check out Southern Maine. We're playing at the Boardwalk in Sacramento on July 1st. Rock on, Hank." I immediately updated my website with the information on Hank's new band, along with info on the Boardwalk show. I found out later that Ryan intentionally let me get Hank's email address so that I could get in touch with him. I guess Ryan isn't as bad as I had thought. I had a new respect for him. Now, it wasn't long before I was the webmaster for the official Southern Maine website. Both bands were not getting much attention in the rock magazines, and MTV had stopped caring about music, so this was a difficult time for getting exposure. This is where the websites came into play. The internet was just starting to become mainstream, and people were searching for info on Edison the band. Now, both bands were touring the country in clubs, and because of the website exposure, people were coming to see them. The first chance I got to see Hank post Edison was in Denver, Colorado, opening for Judas Priest. This was the first time I had ever gotten treated with special privileges as well. I was on the guest list, and I didn't have to pay anything to get it. On top of that, the band was so gracious to me and my posse. They were thanking me, hugging me, and giving me all sorts of keepsakes. I felt like the rock star that night. I had come a long way from that greasy kitchen in high school. I would try to make some sort of update on the Operation Reunite Edison website each day, what the guys were up to, and if they happened to cover an Edison song the night before. I started to notice that from time to time, things that I typed would end up in the rock magazines, and occasionally local and national radio. All access passes to shows, free eats and drinks backstage, and lots of talk with the guys about their former band, asking them each time I saw them if it was time to think about a reunion yet. It started to get pretty crazy, believe it or not. The flood of visitors to the website was crazy. My web host had to upgrade twice more to accommodate all the new traffic. I'd get people coming up to me at shows, telling me all sorts of stuff about my site. They'd tell me how awesome it was, and how totally in they were with the whole idea. And they asked me for autographs and shit. It was absolutely insane. One day, I was sitting at work and my cell phone rings. I answered, and the voice on the other end was Edison's lead singer. "Hey Freddie, my name is Keith, and I was in a band called Edison." "I know who you are," I replied. Who wouldn't know that recognizable voice? He could read the dictionary, and I would buy a ticket to the show. He had heard through the grapevine what I was doing for the other bands and wanted me to help them out too. I was overwhelmed. Now I'm doing 3 websites for these guys' new projects. They did not even all talk to each other since the breakup, yet I was the link to all of them. Life was good. It was really good, in fact. Some other big bands had heard about what I was doing for these guys, and I started my own website company that catered to some famous rock bands. I did sites for tons of guys. I can't name names, contracts and all that. But let's just say you've definitely heard of them. These are guys that sell out arenas, big-time stars with big-time personality. Anyway, it was all good. But it got better. Way better. One day, I got an email from Keith. I saved it. It was only a line, but it was the best damn line of email I've ever received in my life. It was freaking poetry. Here it is. "Need your help. We're getting the band back together. Need promo and news bite on the website. Please call me. Thanks." And that's when it was on, baby. So on. I called Keith as fast as I could, and we hashed out the details for the promo as fast as we could. I got on the line with my graphic designer, and within 2 days, I had a whole new design up with the Edison promo, and all the other websites linking to it. Recharged. Edison Lives Again World Tour. As you can imagine, the whole thing took off like a fighter jet. The website lit up, went down again, and came back up. I got thousands of emails, phone calls, you name it, and all of them were saying the same things. "OMG, is this for real? Holy shit, dude, you're my hero. OMG, 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 this is crazy." And stuff like that. As the first day of the reunion tour neared, I was treated to one of the most epic experiences of my life. I got personally flown down to Sacramento to crash a few nights in Ryan White's mansion, and it was by far one of the best places I've ever stayed in my life. I know it's maybe not so cool now with cribs and all that other stuff, but for a young kid like me back then, it was amazing. It was everything you dreamed a rock star's mansion would look like. Huge hallways with priceless stuff. A recording studio in the basement. A huge pool and hot tub in the back. Seriously huge. We're talking 2 stories. Oh, and booze. Lots and lots of top-shelf stuff. I will say this. The nights leading up to the concert were some of the craziest and most awesome nights I've ever had in my life. I partied like a rock star, and damn, do they know how to live. And then the day came. The first tour. I walked down into the dressing room with them, said good luck, and walked out to the crowd. It was blinding and brilliant. The opening band was all right. Nothing special. I got a curious sense of déjà vu all of a sudden. And then it hit me all over again. The stage rumbled to life with the fireworks and flames that heralded Edison's triumphant return. The crowd screamed for them as their guitars screamed back and forth, excited to be back in the action. Every lick was the same, every pulse-pounding solo as good as they ever were. I was brought back to that night years ago when I got swept away in the hazy mix of music, lights, and sound. It was a damn good show. I met with the band afterwards, and I told them how amazing it was. They thanked me, and I left, and I went back on my way home. Now, I don't really believe that I was the reason Edison got back together. However, it's fun to think that I had some small part in it.
One fire was out and another one burning. Isolated at night kept me tossing and turning. I was craving the company of weaker vessels, just me and my shadows, by ourselves left to nestle. Only we go to the wall I used as my excuse when I was jostled by the servant delivering the news. An invitation to the grand ball he delivered to me, a guest of the king's, and I would pay no fee. At the grand ball, anything can happen. At the grand ball, anything at all. I arrived on time, but was not on the list. Disconcerted in the moment, hoping for an assist. When one of the king's men noticed me from afar, he escorted me in. I was treated like a czar. Good candle holder, a worthy risk taker, but the ball tried its hand as a good matchmaker. I noticed her in the corner, but kept my distance. She smiled at me to acknowledge my existence. At the grand ball, anything can happen. At the grand ball, anything at all.